Well, the latest news on Cyclone Alfred is that the bomber's saying when it hits landfall, it could maintain the intensity of a Category 2 storm. Let's go to Brisbane Lord Mayor Adrian Schrinner, who's been watching this very closely, of course, to protect his residents. Adrian, just take us through that for a second, because we're talking about the coast at the moment and a Category 2 hitting us here potentially in the Gold Coast. If it maintains a level of that intensity, it could reach Brisbane as quite a strong storm. Are you watching it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we can see the images from northern New South Wales and the Gold Coast and wondering what's going to happen here in Brisbane. I think that's exactly the type of thing that will happen in Brisbane as well. It hasn't reached us yet to that extent because it's effectively hit the Gold Coast and northern New South Wales first, but that is coming for us. So if you're in Brisbane at the moment, have a look at those images. That's what we can expect in Brisbane. There's also the chance of significant flooding. There's a chance of power outages. Today's the day to stay off the roads wherever possible. The safest place for you is indoors in your home.
Adrian, this could hit in the dead of night. That's concerning.
Yeah, absolutely. But on the other hand, though, it's better to have no one out and about at the time it strikes. And so I think that is a positive thing overall. We don't want people out and about in this.
You've had a number of suburbs at risk of flooding. Where are you most concerned about at the moment?
Well, first of all, those Moreton Bay side suburbs, Lota, Sandgate, Brighton, places like that, Nudgee Beach. But then obviously it depends on the amount of rainfall we get across Brisbane. There could be a lot of creek flooding right across the city. And so that's what we're telling people to prepare for. Also, be prepared for power outages as well. We've seen, more than 20,000 people impacted in southeast Queensland already by power failures, and this is about trees coming down on power lines, impacts such as that.
How concerned are you for, I guess, the anxiety of the residents at the moment? Because the further north it shifts, essentially the more destructive winds to the south, the more rain to the south will come through, and we've been waiting now for days for this thing to hit.
Yeah, look, it's difficult waiting, but it's also given us more time to prepare. Yesterday, we had effectively an extra day to get ready in Brisbane, and we used that. We were able to distribute a whole heap more sandbags. People were able to get some last-minute things from the shop. But now, it's not the day to go out. We are ready as we can be, and I know that people are just now waiting to see what happens. But as I said, a simple message, stay in your homes, not the day to be out and about.
Yeah, it certainly is. And Adrian, thank you so much. Take care, and to the rest of Brisbane City as well. Let's bring in Channel 7 meteorologist Tony Auden to give us the latest on tracking Cyclone Alfred. What have you got for us?
Good morning, Shervo. Well, basically, Alfred's track today is going to drive anyone taking it too closely crazy. We've seen wobbles yesterday, wobbles overnight, and we'll continue to see really erratic movement for the next day or so, then hopefully a better shift towards a landfall overnight and tomorrow. For now, we're seeing, the system's still low-end Category 2, about 180 kilometres off the coast, wobbling around like we do see with these cyclones without any strong steering influences. Tracking the radar, lots of rain circling around that system into northern New South Wales, just grazing past southeast Queensland. We've seen some really nasty squalls overnight, followed by some brief pockets of dry, and there is still a lot of rain lining up along the coast at the moment. We've also seen a bit of cloud building over this system, showing that it's trying to intensify and get some of those tropical characteristics back. So we need to be wary of potential to intensify a little bit. Now, onto that track map. Looking ahead, we are expecting very erratic movement slowly to the west. This track here from the Bureau is smooth. It takes a whole bunch of data and smooths it. I think we'll see it hanging off the Gold Coast and Moreton Bay Islands by mid to late today, then likely moving a little bit north, hovering for a little bit, weakening to Category 1, then moving across land into tomorrow, and then hopefully away, and we can start to deal with the rest of those impacts. For now, the cyclone warning has stayed pretty similar, Sunshine Coast down to Grafton. In terms of those impacts, of course, the waves and winds should be peaking today, then gradually easing over the weekend. Of course, that issue is the rain starting from now and continuing through the weekend, and serious flooding concerns, especially with that slight northward movement on the track. And we're also seeing a possible pinch point on Alfred. If he crosses tonight, we get that surge of winds. We do have about a 3:30 a.m. high tide tomorrow, which could worsen any surge. So there's a lot going on, Shervo.
Yeah, he's a real bugger, isn't he? This Alfred, very hard to track and obviously bringing a serious bit of weather. Thank you, Tony. Let's go to Qantas Operations. Ben Holland with the latest on the airports and flights in and out of southeast Queensland particularly. None are coming in this area, Ben.
No, morning, Martin. Similar to Tony, our modelling indicates something landfall around early tomorrow morning. We're also indicating heavy rain, predominantly to the south of Brisbane. The delay to the landfall has forced us to suspend operations through to Saturday midnight. And so for the next 48 hours, we're not planning on any operations into Brisbane, the Gold Coast or Ballina. Pleasingly, we're looking to release an aircraft up to Coffs Harbour in around about an hour and a half. So where we can, we are starting to resume services and support flying our passengers safely to where they need to go.
Is this affecting any international flights? If I was flying, let's say, Sydney to Bali, for example, is that impacted at all?
The Sydney to Bali is not impacted, Matt, but we estimate we have, for Qantas Mainline, around 4,600 passengers sitting offshore who are planned to travel over the next 2 days. The longer this cyclone goes on, the more the backlog will occur. We've subsequently cancelled around 15 international flights. The predominant ports that we're looking at is Los Angeles, Tokyo Narita's airport, Singapore and also Manila. But what we're doing is we're also looking to repurpose those aircraft to see if we can fly into alternate destinations into Australia, something like Melbourne. So what we can offer our customers is an alternative to get them back to Australia, and they can be a lot closer to Brisbane for when services reopen.
Would other international airlines be monitoring this?
They would, most definitely. You'll find all of your internationals will be monitoring the situation, as we do for all of the ports around our network. They'll be making their decisions independently and based on their criteria, and they'll also be working with all the respective airport corporations and looking at the forecast similar to ourselves.
Okay, so as it stands at the moment, flights won't resume until Saturday midnight in and around this southeast Queensland area. Thank you so much for your time, Ben. Really appreciate the update. Dave, as you can hear there, the hotel that we're staying at particularly this weekend was completely full in Broadbeach. It's now halved, but even the people at the reception there were saying, well, they can't get in, so it's probably going to be less than that anyway.